Hello, everybody. Here I am with the live coming to you. So big welcome to you if you're with me live. Also big welcome to you who is watching the replay. We are going to dive into a very interesting, a very beautiful topic that is very, very dear to me because I know that intimate relationships, it's a potential for so much joy, so much fulfillment. It's such a beautiful portal to really discover something magnificent. It's through the human heart that we can access the divine heart. And in love, in relating, that's really one of those avenues where we have tremendous possibility to really meet ourselves in the most profound way. Of course, other types of relationships are also incredibly revealing and opening. Relationship to your children, for example, or friendships, all of those relationships to our teachers, all of those have their own unique medicine. But those intimate relationships is something that I personally have been fascinated by my whole life. You may have heard me speak that all my life, since my childhood, I've always been fascinated by this romance. My grandmother was watching the Mexican soap opera on TV, and there was always so much drama, so much agony of the heart, and it's just, and I loved it. Like I loved feeling that vibe, and my Barbies, my dolls, my toys were always making love and getting married and all this stuff. So relationship has been a really important, huge aspect of my life, and I believe that it's a huge part of my work to really experience that highest way of meeting between the masculine and the feminine, and then also support others, create spaces for others where they can also be touched by that magnificence. So once again, welcome to all of you. Welcome who just joined. If it's the very, very first time you've ever been live with me, please make it known. Please comment. And if you've been with me for a while and been coming and tuning in with me many times, also please make it known. Please message in the chat. So I did paint this picture of what is possible. Yeah, I said how through human heart, when we really tap into the human heart, we can access the divine heart. Yeah, how is that? Yeah, what does it even mean? It means that when we really give ourselves space to love, and when we really open our human hearts to love, and love is not always sweet and pretty. Yeah, love is really that glue that holds the manifestation together, is that underlying energy underneath everything. And then in our lives, in our bodies, sometimes we create barriers for that love to flow through. And each time we unlock those trapped places where the energy is not flowing, we are revealing the beauty of the heart. And maybe you've experienced that, yeah, when there feels like there's like a really challenging area of your life, something is really just doesn't move. Yeah, maybe in a relationship, maybe just in your own life, just something is like, it's just so painful. Every time you think about it, it's just like, it hurts. But then if you don't run away from it, because we are conditioned to run away from challenges. Yeah, very often it's conditioned by our trauma, where it's just as soon as there's discomfort, you kind of want to check out. This is very natural. It's a coping mechanism. But when we grow up as humans, and when we start to behave as humans, when we start to behave as adults, then we know that actually if we dare to stay through challenges, then those dense, contracted places inside of our bodies, inside of our hearts, open up, and then greater capacity for love opens to us, becomes available to us. We become more pure, attuned channel for that love. So yesterday also there was this Valentine's Day for some people hate it, some people love it, but anyway, it's that moment when there's a lot of information about relationships, and people like to post their pictures with their beloved, and for some people looking at it like it's just really unpleasant because it may be pressing on some wound that is there, that somehow you are not having the relationship that you would like to have, or something enters in a certain dissonance. So let's look at this. How can we really open to the true potential of a love relationship? Without connection, there's no depth in relationship. And I asked you the question, what are the challenges you're facing in your relationships? Of course, maybe there are some that just don't have a relationship, and then that's their challenge. But as I said, I got you covered too. I have an online course coming up about attracting your true love. I'm really excited about that. But for those who are in relationships, many of you messaged me and commented to the posts and said, I am really challenged because I don't know how to connect. It's like, seems like we are on two different planets. Someone said, that the partner is on one planet, on Jupiter, and I'm on Mars. There's also this book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So it's like there can be this distance. I don't believe it's true. I think we're all from the same planet, but we can learn how to connect. And the issue is that we're also conditioned to think that love should just flow effortlessly. And it's true, love flows effortlessly in its natural state. But because of our history, because of our traumas, because of different imprints that we've received as we were growing up, and also examples, usually really unhealthy examples of how people relate. Sometimes in our families, not many people witnessed a harmonious relationship. So all this leaves imprints on our psyche, and then we struggle to let that love flow freely. So it means that we have to learn. Our intimacy includes learnable skills. And lots of things are not supposed to be natural. Unless we're just incredibly open and not traumatized, which is exceptionally rare, almost not existent in this life. We need to learn things. We need to learn how to create that art. Also artists, we can look at intimacy as an art as well. Artists are constantly mastering their craft, and if you want to be an artist of love, you also need to be constantly polishing your skills. So if you're struggling, if you feel like you don't have connection in your relationship, or your connection is not as strong as it used to be, don't worry. That's normal, that's natural, and there are ways to shift that. And I'm very happy to share with you some of the things that I've learned in my life, or that I've been teaching in my trainings and my courses, and I will invite you into some exploration in that avenue. So a very big piece which we cannot overlook in relationships is the piece about polarity. So probably many of you also know about this, but I will remind you, and for some it maybe will be a new thing. So polarity is about this art of attraction, that the opposites attract. That when we are same, when we are doing the same thing, when we are behaving in the same way, when we are always together, kind of glued to each other, there's no distance, there's no healthy distance to create that attraction. And what gets attracted to each other, like two magnets, Yeah, the minus and the plus, they get attracted to each other. So that's what that difference actually creates attraction. But the difference also shouldn't be like that, like men, like you have to see also where, like, it's energetic difference. Yeah, it's not necessarily in your mindset and your beliefs and stuff like this. I mean, all this is secondary, but most important is that there is an energetic difference. Yeah, and what creates the difference, and very beautifully so, is that when we start to cultivate the feminine and the masculine polarity. Yeah, so the feminine polarity is a lot about feeling. It's a lot about flowing. It's a lot about this resting in the embodied energy, in the life that you are. Because that's the essence of the feminine. That's what the feminine really is. It is life. It is also love. It is the fullness. Yeah, that's the feminine energy in its essence. Now the masculine energy is the energy of, ultimately, yeah, at the essence of it, is that energy that gives space to that life, to that love. It's that container that provides that space for that love to flow freely. Yeah, and but that's like, I'm talking about the essence. Yeah, the feminine essence is life. The masculine essence is emptiness, is the container. Both of them are incredibly important. They don't exist without each other, actually. Some people are like, oh, this is better, this is worse. No, none of them is better or worse. But if you are deep into spiritual practice, for example, like traditional spiritual practice, it's very likely that you've cultivated a lot of masculine energy, because also the masculine is about this just being still and being the witness of all that is happening. Yeah, so meditation, vipassana, yoga, like traditional practices, they are all teaching you how to witness life, not be so engaged in life, but witness. And for a long time, this was considered to be the only spiritual practice. But also that was my experience, that I was, like, my spiritual upbringing was in those terms also. I was meditating a lot, sitting, meditating, doing yoga, doing intense tantric practices as well, but they were all about kind of like the spiritual piece was that I have to detach and observe and witness what is happening, not be so entangled in the energy. Yeah, that's the masculine way, where you are the container for that energy. Now, when I was deeply immersed, and I still am deeply immersed in spiritual practice, but like in my first years, I was practicing in a very intensive way, like 6-8 hours of meditation every single day. And I discovered this certain flavor, this certain dissonance in me, where it felt like my femininity was being neglected in that type of traditional spirituality. And so I felt that there must be also a way to include all of my feminine energy, my fullness, my juiciness, my sensuality into my spiritual practice. And in fact, there is a way, and these are the main practice that I'm practicing now, and what I'm also encouraging women who want to really rest deeper into their feminine to practice, to the feminine spiritual practices. It's when you go actually through that fullness, you discover that same essence, you discover the divinity through fullness, through fully embodying your experience, by really going deep into your emotion, by moving your body in a very conscious way, where you bring all of yourself into what you are doing. So then what happens in the relationship where two people are choosing to practice that polarity is that they will have different types of practices. They will have different types of activities throughout the day. And then number one tip for a really profound intimacy, even if you're not so much into all these spiritual practices, it's really not about that. But what is important is that you create a distinction. Yeah, that two of you, if you are in that heterosexual relationship, even if you're in a homosexual relationship, actually doesn't matter. But you need to each choose which polarity is more interesting for you, is more fun for you, is more joyful for you, which one makes you more happy. Do you enjoy resting in your fullness and moving your body and feeling fully and constantly, like opening your heart and feeling that you can just completely let go into your expression and feel totally safe and totally held in that? Yeah, if that's what you like, then it's likely that feminine is your preferred way of the preferred place of being. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a strong masculine, but we're speaking specifically about relationships. Then for the one who prefers to be the container, who prefers to be just hold that unwavering presence and be really still and allow that life to unfold before you, then that's the person who is in their masculine. Yeah? And then there are ways to amplify that, and you will see that the more you amplify it, the more you are drawn to each other. So what is important for that? It's an important piece here, is that you shouldn't be both in the same polarity if you want a deep connection, yeah? If you want sexual connection. Like if you both are, for example, spending your whole day working next to each other in the work mode, and like you are maybe also in the same space, working, yeah, sitting still, working, being focused. These are all masculine qualities. So if both of you are doing it, then no wonder you don't have juice to get into intimate connection. Yeah. Even if you're not in the same space, but it's still very important that if you work, you have to have two separate spaces so that you don't kind of resonate on that level, because there's no attraction in that. Yeah? And then afterwards, it's like if you worked all day next to each other, or both of you worked all day sitting still, just typing in front of computer, being focused, and then you want to go to bed and feel all juiced up and ecstatic, like no, it's not going to happen. Like there needs to be that polarization. So then next piece is about the practice space. Yeah, practice is important, and you can choose what is your practice. Yeah, I was speaking about spiritual practice beforehand, but you don't even need to call it spiritual practice if it's not what you resonate. But you need to do something that enlivens you, something that refreshes you, something that makes you feel that you're really connected to yourself. And that's a really great way to start your day with that. So you can get up a bit earlier, because also some of you wrote to me, they're like, oh, we have children. And I will speak to that specifically. What happens when there are children in the relationship, and especially little children, and how that can really change the dynamic in the couple. And I will explain it from energetic standpoint and how you can also shift it. And if you don't shift it, also what can happen. So I will get to it. If I forget, please remind me. Incorporating into your day those nurturing experiences, nurturing practices, those practices that especially nurture your preferred polarity. Yeah, so if you and it's worth it, you know, it's really worth it to put yourself so fully into it, so then when you come together with your partner, you have this, you are prepared for intimacy. Yeah, so take those times, and I love to start my day with that. But you can also incorporate it, like I wrote also recently in a post, you can incorporate it into your routine. Like you can incorporate it into your later routine. Like if you want to meet and have a sexual moment together, then before that, it's nice that you also separate and you take some time to nurture that preferred polarity. Yeah, so it can be, ideally, it's great that if you can take an hour, it's great that you can take 2 hours. For some people, they cannot take that much, or they don't want to. And then if you just take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's already good. So what I would recommend is that you start your day with that nurturing experience. So it may be meditation. Yeah, but there are different types of meditation. So if it's a meditation in stillness, or you just sit, you close your eyes, and you observe what is going on inside of you. You also can practice with your breath, for example. And then you dedicate time to that. And you will see that it really empties you. Like for the masculine, for example, it's amazing practice, because that's what you really want deep down. You want to come to that emptiness. And meditation is what will give you that experience, that you become empty. And you also really reset your whole system. Then for the feminine, what I recommend and what I also love to practice is I do also meditation, but meditation in movement. So you can be moving your body in a way that like I encourage women who work with me to move from within. Not just move like repetitive and kind of disco dancing movements. No, those kind of movements that emerge from your core, that emerge from your womb, that emerge from your heart, from inside. And that also is a strong practice. Then also when women work with the yoni egg, for example, or with the yoni wands, it's also the same principle. That's the practice I teach in Activate Woman online course. The same principle, when they work so specifically on their yoni, it's like a meditation. We really go into the tissues. We really start to feel. How do we feel? What is going on? What happens when you press there? What happens when you squeeze in that way? And that is also incredibly nurturing for the feminine, because you really include your body. And movement is essential for the feminine. So then throughout the day, also bring those moments. To cultivate the masculine polarity, bring those moments of stillness. Of moments of focus, when you're really focused, when you're really on something. And then if you're cultivating the feminine polarity, then bring the movement throughout the day. I keep repeating this, if every single woman in the world would spend 5 minutes a day moving her hips in circles, the world would be a better place, because so many women are used to being in their masculine, sitting in front of computer all day, focused, dedicated to something, really going towards some end result. Of course, there's no juice after that. And then another point is before your date. That you also have those 2 separate spaces, that you don't do everything together. This is, you can be great friends, but it still doesn't mean that you have to do everything together. So there have to be those moments when you separate and you focus on your own nourishment, and then you come together. And you see that you become infinitely much more attractive to each other when you feel that you are nurtured on the inside in your preferred way. So so one thing I did speak about is that when you spend the whole day working, both of you, so you both are in your masculine, then of course there's no attraction. Other thing is also true, when you both are in your feminine all the time, if you just become like best buddies, you're cuddling, you're just friendly with each other, and this is also not a place for polarity. It may be sweet and you may have like a nice connection actually if you both are in the feminine. There won't be nice connection if you both are in your masculine. Eventually you will get very competitive with each other, because if both are in their masculine, of course it can be a good strong friendship, but still eventually there will be this masculine type of competition. And that we also see in couples a lot these days, that they are kind of competing with each other, who makes more money, who is more successful, and they stop being a team, actually, that complements each other, because this being complementary is an important quality for a relationship, not completing each other. Yeah, this is a myth that we have to complete each other, but complement each other, because together we become brighter, we shine brighter, and our intimacy is a place that really nurtures us, and then we come together, we cultivate the polarity, we merge in the intimate union, and then we go into the world and shine our gifts and move from that place of fullness, of sacredness. Both in the feminine also doesn't work. Another piece that I really want to speak to and remind you about and encourage you to practice is this clear heart. Yeah, that your heart has to be clear, and the space between you has to be clear. If there are some unspoken things, if there are some secrets that you're holding from each other, if there are just some areas that you just don't want to discuss, just some no-go zones, like you just hope it passes somehow and you just don't want to address it, that keeps coming back on your mind, like when you see your partner, you're like, something is cringing on the inside, they hurt you with something, or something left a residue inside of you. So this is a block to intimacy. Don't even think that you will have profound intimacy if there are some unresolved issues. I encourage the couples that I work with to cultivate this clean as you go policy, that you are constantly clearing space between you. In my online course, Limitless Love, I give a really strong practice for that. It's called Clear Space exercise, and I've seen couples change in front of my eyes as I was holding space for them doing this kind of practice. It's simple, but if you do it correctly, it's just like really hits the spot, and you just, like, once you process all that trapped energy, once you really unleash it and you reveal it, even though there may be shame even in revealing this, but this brings vulnerability. And vulnerability is the key word for intimacy. If there's no vulnerability, if you're hiding behind masks, if you're constantly worrying, how does he think that you look, if you're beautiful enough, if you're skinny enough, or if your belly is hanging, or like, it's a mind fuck. It's really difficult to be intimate if you have all this stuff going on in your mind. But if you bring it forward, whatever is worrying you, whatever happened, you can ask, you can reveal, you can say, wow, you did that, you interacted with this person, it really hurt me, it really made me feel isolated and unseen, and I felt so saddened by that this happened, or I felt like you neglected me in this way. So it's important that it's not about blaming, but you say how you feel. Yeah? So it's even better to say not how I just said, but to say, I feel neglected, I feel abandoned, I feel hurt, I feel whatever is there. So that kind of expression of emotion will create connection instead of judgment that will create disconnection. So this has to be there. Yeah. And those of you who wrote to me and said, we have no connection, first thing you have to do, you have to sit in front of each other, and one of you, the one who wants to play the masculine role in your relationship, who wants to be that container for all of that fullness of your partner to emerge, you have to be the one who initiates it. And you have to say, hey, my love, let's have a conversation. Let's sit and let's just switch off our phones and be totally present for each other. Yeah, it's so simple, but so few people are doing this. And that has to become a regular thing. You can put it in your calendar and do it regularly. Every day is great. every other day or once a week, whatever works for you, but bring that culture in your relationship. And masculine partner, be responsible for that, because you will feel empowered by this. You will feel empowered when you create the structure and you hold that structure. So you say, hey darling, let's have a conversation, let's sit together and let's really bring everything on the table. Not with a like being clear that it's not about blaming or finding who is right and who is wrong. No, it's an act of clearing the heart. It's an open communication from the heart. This will do a lot of good to your relationship. It has to be the masculine partner, yeah, the person who wants to be the masculine in the relationship. Yeah, it can be the woman. Yeah, in some relationships that's how it works. But most traditionally, like the man will have more affinity towards the masculine energy, and women will have more affinity towards the feminine energy. It's also how our bodies are built. Yeah, so women produce more feminine hormones, men produce more masculine hormones naturally, but it doesn't have to be the case. Yeah, you have to see what is right for you. So I also did write quite specifically about lack of desire in relationships. I have like a bunch of, actually I have an article that contains all those things I wrote about it, so you can go on my website and search in the blog Bringing Desire Back, the article, and there I have quite a lot of also good suggestions on how to bring the desire back. I also want to share with you my practices, some practices that I created according to 5 love languages. It's a beautiful kind of breakdown of ways how we receive love. I'm forgetting the author now, unfortunately. If someone knows, please write in the chat. The 5 love languages it's a concept created by a person who wrote a book, 5 love languages, and I am suggesting you to try practices for each of those love languages. So you can download my free ebook. If you go on my bio, it's called Sundari Love Practices, and there for each of those languages I offer you a practice. So the languages are physical touch. Yeah, for example, if we don't get touched enough, we don't feel loved. And that's also something that will create connection. Yeah, if you incorporate, and for most people actually physical touch is a really important love language. So if you don't have enough touch in your relationship, then yeah, no wonder also you're growing apart. And I'm giving you a practice there on that. So just go hop in my bio and find it there. And then I also have practice on words of affirmation, where we also receive compliments, when we receive words of adoration to our beauty, to the things we do, to who we are. This is also an important, for some people, when they never hear compliments, they just won't feel loved. And it may be different to you and to your partner. You may have different types of love languages, but it's really important to know your partner's love language and really nurture that so that they feel appreciated continuously. Another one is quality time, which is super important. Now in the lockdown times, many couples spend just so much time together, and they feel like, okay, we're together so much, so they kind of feel a bit saturated with each other. That's why I come back to what I was speaking before. Create those 2 separate spaces for you, and make sure that you have that separate space where you can separate and not see each other, where you go and you do your practice and when you go on your work, and then come together when you're 100% in. That will make such a huge difference if you really come together because you 100% choose to be together. Of course, there can be some limitations of space and stuff, but you can arrange it. It may be even one space, but you can put like a divider in the room or something. Already this will make a difference. Just to kind of keep that container for your own energy. So another piece in the free book that I encourage you to go download once we're finished here is on offering gifts. Yeah, and for some people also this is so important, and they may feel even ashamed of that, like that they feel like, yeah, I need to receive gifts, and then that explains me that I am loved. Like, I love it when my partner offers me flowers or anything else. It doesn't even have to be something elaborate or something, but just the fact that he went and got something for me specifically and brought, even can be something from nature, yeah, that does something really nurturing for me. And then another love language is acts of service. So I'm elaborating all this in the book. So then I'm happy to answer your questions, because you did send me some, and I did touch on some things as I was speaking, but I'm happy to speak to you directly now. So, okay, great question. One is about when kids are present, so I will speak to that. And second one, which is faster for me to respond, so I'll start with that, would you suggest different bedrooms? So, in fact, in my marriage, when I used to be married, we had that practice. We decided to sleep separately. And also for that same reason, to cultivate that polarity, because when you sleep, your subtle bodies merge and you really create a very deep bonding with your partner, and it can be a beautiful thing, and it also can be depolarizing thing. Depends, yeah, but you need to feel for yourself if that's a requirement for you. For some people, they really need it, like they really feel they just don't rest when they sleep with another person, but they feel kind of guilty to say it because it's kind of not normal that couples sleep together. So you have a permission, full permission for that if you really need it. And normally, if you're familiar with human design, projectors normally very much need to sleep alone, because they need a lot of time on their own to recharge. Yeah, so it may be the case that you want that, but you need to be clear where you're coming from, because sometimes it may be that you just kind of want to isolate yourself from relationship, and you're really just so unhappy with relationship, and it's just not going in the right direction, and you just kind of take your step away from the relationship, and here sleeping in separate beds won't help. But if you're doing it intentionally, you're like, wow, yeah, I'm fully in, and I want to do it with you, and let's try this, and that can be a good thing. So I see more questions coming, but let me answer this one. So with kids, this can be tricky. I totally understand it. I don't have kids myself, but I have a lot of clients that do, and I also witness how they are dealing with it and support them also with that. So it's a matter of mindset, and a really important one, because what naturally happens for many couples, for many women specifically, is that once the child is born, she becomes the mother and she loses herself as a lover. And this is a big mistake, because being a lover is one of those archetypes that is so important for your life. It's so important for your full feminine expression. So if you are denying yourself as a lover, you're doing a big disservice to yourself and to your relationship and to your child also. Because they want a mother who is thriving in her femininity. Yeah, this is how you're transmitting also to your child what it is to be a healthy human being, a fulfilled human being. So this has to happen first. Yeah, you need to have this shift of the mindset that it is important to prioritize it. Then logistically, yeah, what are we talking about? Logistically, it means have your intimate dates before the child gets up. Yeah, I mean, of course, I understand that can be strenuous, especially if it's a baby, but arrange your life around that. Make it a priority, and really hold it as something sacred, something that you don't compromise on. Because if you do, and I don't want to scare you, but if you do, what quite frequently happens is that because usually it happens to women, yeah, that women like just really go into their mother role, and the mother role has a lot of masculine to it also. Actually, it does have a lot of feminine, of course, but also a lot of masculine, because it's a lot about organizing, providing. And then also there is depolarization with your partner. Quite likely that it can happen. But then if she continues in that way, something in her soul will feel this yearning to be reminded of how it is to be that lover. And it is very likely, or it can happen, and it happened many times in many couples that I've observed, that another woman manifests in their field, in the field of this couple. And it looks like it's a lover who comes in, or a woman, maybe doesn't even need to be that like the husband becomes, or the father of the child becomes lovers with somebody else and starts cheating. It doesn't even have to be, but there may be this woman who somehow like manifests those qualities of a lover. Yeah, and then the mother has to wake up, because it's her soul who is inviting this kind of woman. So she reminds the mother that she's not only the mother, that she's also a lover. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let me know if you want me to clarify anything. So if you are both in the feminine energy, a very typical thing. If you're both in the feminine energy, what can you do? And how do you know if you are both in the feminine? Okay. So if you're both in the feminine energy is when you become really familiar together. It's like you just hang out, you wear pajamas all day long, you're so comfortable together, you both are in the flow, you both are kind of, in this way of like, there's no one who really sets the container and who it really holds the space. Yeah, it's kind of both are in this kind of flow, watching Netflix together, binging on ice cream or something. And it continues. Okay, sometimes it can happen, that you're just like hanging out like friends like this. But if it's a repetitive, continuous experience, then the chances are high that you're predominantly both in your feminine, and that is just incredibly depolarizing. And also eventually you will just feel like there's no intimacy anymore, you're just bodies. So what can you do is you need to like get serious about it, have a conversation about it, and you need to say, hey, like, where is our intimacy? Let's bring it back. Let's try this polarity thing. So who of us is more connected and happier in the masculine, and who is happier in the feminine? Yeah, would you beautiful author and teacher David Deida says, to distinguish your polarities, like you need to check, are you happy to be pinned down by someone who is bigger and stronger by you, or would you rather pin them down and ravish them and take them? So if you are the one who would pin them down and you would like to feel your partner submitting and surrendering to you, then it's more likely you are in your masculine is your essence. But if you'd rather just surrender and be taken, it's more likely that you have a stronger feminine essence. Meg is asking, he wants to do everything together. How do I encourage separation each day? That's important. Bring this conversation. Give him this video to watch, because you also don't have to become the teacher in relationship, especially as a woman. It's quite a dangerous thing to become the teacher and the one who says, okay, let's do this, okay, we need to do this, okay, here, do this. That can be quite taxing on your femininity, and not happy. Not a happy place for a woman, that she keeps like talking to him like he is another child of hers or something. So you can say, oh wow, there are teachers out there, people like me and many others. Just find those that you resonate with, and you can say, hey, I think she has some good things to say, why don't you go listen? Oh, here is the book actually I read. Really love this book. It's super interesting. And then he'll say, oh yeah, what about this book? And then you say, oh yeah, well, it's over there. So you don't even you don't have to say those things, but you can invite, yeah, gently, in a feminine way. Invite by saying, by demonstrating how it makes you feel. So, for example, he wants to do everything together, but you say, oh, wow, but actually I have something else to do. And then you go into your own space and you practice your own practices. Yeah, then he just doesn't have much else to do. He will have to find something else for himself to do. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Thank you for all those hearts. I see them and appreciate them. Can you explain surrender in feminine and leading in masculine energy? Well, fundamentally, these are like surrender is the feminine quality, and feminine yearns to surrender, and she's terrified of surrender more than anything else. And I have a whole video about that specifically. And leading is that energy of penetrating, it's permeating, is directing, is guiding. So that's the masculine. Sometimes there is this unhealthy masculine also, or immature masculine, where it's like he's just like directing his energy, or her, also women, we also do that, where you just like penetrate the field and you just put yourself forward and you just tell also people what they should do, like all this is masculine, without really being attuned to the truth of the moment. Yeah, and the mature masculine will be leading from that attunement with love and with truth of the moment. And then this leading becomes effortless for the masculine and all of us, and it's rooted in something. It's not just pure muscle kind of pushing through. Yeah, someone saw my Isis. Thank you for your comments. Let's see. Vesal, hello darling. You're asking, is it okay that the woman is in her masculine energy? Of course it's okay, you know, we have to have both, really. Like, we just cannot be in one or the other. Like that's what makes the wholeness inside. We have to come to that inner marriage, we can say, of those polarities inside, masculine and feminine. Because if we don't have masculine as women, then we're going to be constantly projecting the masculine on the outside and expecting our partner to give us all those masculine gifts that we cannot give to ourselves, to always lead us, to always protect, and to always be there strong and stuff. It's not humanly possible to always be that. So we have to, and it creates codependency. So we have to have it inside. We have to have it. But you need to see in which balance it works for you. So, for example, say it's 100%. You can see what is my happy place. How much time I want to spend in my feminine, how much in my masculine. Maybe it's 50-50. It's unlikely, but for some people it may be that way. Maybe it's more like 70-30. Maybe 70% I'm in my feminine, 30% I'm in my masculine. Maybe 80-20. Maybe 90-10. So this So let's see, what else do we have? Someone is saying that my energy is healing. Beautiful. Thank you for receiving this. Would you still amplify your practice even if you're in a stable relationship? Yes, you would. Yes. I actually want to say something about this, because we tend to reach our ceiling, you know, like a cap. It's like sometimes, okay, I got it. I landed. I feel good. I have great relationship. It's all working super well. Okay, cool. That's it. I don't need to develop anymore. Dangerous place to be, because I began by speaking about the divine heart and the human, how the human heart is a portal to the divine heart. What is a divine heart? Divine heart is God, and through our human heart we can experience God within ourselves. So don't be satisfied by what you have, ever, because your heart is not satisfied. If you think you're satisfied, it's your mind that is maybe satisfied. You can have contentment. Yeah, it's important to be content and to know that actually everything already happened. We have all already succeeded. We have all already won. We are here, incarnated as human beings, manifestation of divine love, spirit incarnated. We have succeeded. There is really nothing else. However, we are here, incarnated in this human experience, in this human body, and there's always more for the human. Until the fullness of divine nature is revealed, there's always more. So, for sure, keep going deeper and deeper. So more questions. So someone is asking, if the man is being vulnerable, he's in his feminine, does the woman become the container? Yeah. Well, of course, that has to take place, because also we want to have that vulnerability available to men as well. And sometimes it's important, maybe he's really going through something really deeply emotional, then she can hold space for him. However, that shouldn't be a default. That shouldn't be a regular, continuous experience. Sometimes it will be that way. But it's better that he has emotional support also from somebody else who is not his partner. A coach, a mentor, a friend, men's groups. So good, so important. Don't make your partner your therapist, really. Don't do that. Share your vulnerability, share your heart, but don't expect them to be there always listening to all your problems, because it's just not going to be good for your sex life. And then if the man is very much in his emotionality, and the woman feels like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really actually enjoying to be the container for so long, then she can also invite him into his masculine by becoming even more vulnerable herself. So there will always be energy that is stronger, and the stronger energy will always win. So if he brings a lot of energy, emotional energy, tenderness, something like that, then she can bring even more and even stronger energy. So, and that will kind of recalibrate the situation and shift the polarity again. Let's see, what do we have? Thank you. Thank you, Aneta. Main red flags for a relationship out of balance. Long distance lover also. Actually, the Sundari love practice that I told you about, there are in some of them I added some tips that you can use for long distance relationships, and that will also support your intimacy. So check that out. Okay, main red flags. Let's see how much time we have. We still have a bit of time. So what are the main red flags for a relationship out of balance? Which positive routines, practice you recommend to a couple? So I would say don't be too focused on the red flags. Focus on the green flags. And green flags are this availability for each other, being available, wanting to grow. This willingness to grow is so important, because sometimes in a couples, and I think that's the biggest probably issue, that in a couple sometimes there's one person who really wants to grow and the other person who is just resisting growth. And that, unfortunately, if the second partner doesn't catch up, then usually those relationships become either just very unhappy or they end, because both partners need to be putting their heart into the relationship and into the growth. So that would be the red flag, as you asked. But the green flag is if they are willing to grow, if they are putting themselves into it, if they are bringing their energy and bringing curiosity and checking in how you're feeling, and following up and soothing conflict and not running away from conflict, but staying with a disagreement, with a challenge, and then wanting to repair things. But then, yeah, the red flags obviously is when the person is running away from difficulties continuously. The denial is very difficult. Yeah, denial is always a symptom of trauma. Yeah, so when a person is denying their experience, their challenges, their triggers, when they're denying the validity of their partner's experience also, yeah, because you can come to your partner with a lot of vulnerability and you can speak like, hey, I'm really sad, like I feel we're really not connecting, I feel really isolated and lonely and abandoned, and then they are just saying, oh, it's your shit. Yeah, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a denial, but it's also, of course, it's always a product of trauma, you know. So even if there are those red flags, usually it's not because the person is a bad person, but it's because they have unhealed trauma. And then, yeah, usually they need to do it, and some people are just not willing to look at their trauma, and that becomes very difficult if one person is into deep work and another one is holding back. Yeah, the routines and practices, please go ahead and grab my free ebook called Sundari Love Practices. You can find the link in my bio, and you will get some very good suggestions there. Oh, I also have an online course called Limitless Love, which I also highly recommend to everybody who is interested in growing as a couple. It does also work for singles, and it will prepare you for a future relationship beautifully. And you will also know what you want from a partner, how you want to meet a partner, how you want to be met by them. So I would encourage that very much also, the Limitless Love online course. And I want to announce two things actually. One is just like a little tease that I am preparing an online course for those who want to attract a relationship, for single people who actually want to attract a relationship. And I'll be sharing exactly the things that helped me attract my relationship. Although at the time I didn't really know that that's what I was doing, but I was open for it, of course. So I will be sharing that. It will be potent, powerful course. And another thing that I'm super happy to share with you is that I'm launching my podcast. So it will be launched very soon. You will have all the information about it very, very soon. And you will be able to even join the launch party. So we'll have a Zoom party together. So I would love for you to be a part of it. And then I'll be regularly sharing teachings, practices in my episodes on my podcast. So it's going to be called the Boundless Love Podcast. So, a couple of announcements for you, but let's see if you have more questions. I think I have just a couple more minutes. Let's see. So I have a few. Let me see if I can choose. Yeah. How do you encourage the feminine in a man who is deeply rooted in the masculine and sees vulnerability as a weakness? Yeah, that's a very common thing for him. And certainly, unless you feel his heart and his vulnerability, it's going to be very hard to go deep together. At some point, he needs to crack also, and his heart needs to open. I would say the most important thing is to be very patient and to invite him, to create safety for him, to be in his feminine, to be in his heart. How? Not by going into your masculine and holding space. There's a different way of providing safety, which is a feminine way of providing safety, and that is feeling your own feelings fully and letting him see you in them. That creates an incredible amount of safety because it signals to any person that you are at ease with your emotionality, you are at ease with your heart, you allow yourself to feel and you accept yourself in that feeling, in the messy, raw expression of you. not only the light and sweet, but also the raw, dark and messy. And when you demonstrate to him regularly that you are capable of being with that and even sharing it to him without shame, that creates incredible safety and opening for a man as well. Okay, beautiful people. So on this note, we will conclude. It was a joy to be with you, and please go ahead and grab the free ebook to support your intimacy practices together. And yeah, I look forward to stay connected with you.